Moving to the UK seemed like the ultimate dream, a land of opportunity, a rich history with Asian buildings and a bustling culture. However, as I delved deeper into my journey, I uncovered a myriad of surprises, some not so pleasant, hidden beneath the surface. If I had known them before moving here, they might have influenced my decision. I lived in the UK for the last 3 years, and I'm sharing my experience on this YouTube channel. So if you are considering moving to Britain, watch this video first to know what to expect. Here's the list of things that I wish I had known before embarking on this adventure. I'll start with salaries, because everything begins with money, and you can do nothing without it. The salaries in the UK shocked me a bit because they are not as high as you would expect for this country. A month ago, I met my classmate who lived in the US for the last 15 years or so, and we had a great discussion comparing the UK and the US. I was surprised when he told me the salaries for some positions in IT in the US. Are you ready? The salaries, not even doubled. They are 4 to 5 times higher. That's for the same position as in the UK. Can you imagine this? You might say that they have to pay health insurance there, but even if your employer doesn't cover it, my classmate said that at the end of the month, you could still have around $1,000 even if you don't work in IT. And of course, if you have a well-paid job, you can save more. I don't know how much you have to earn in the UK to be able to save £1,000 a month. Maybe if you are a really great professional with a high salary, but live a humble life. Another horrible thing regarding this subject in the UK is 0 hours contracts. Who came up with this idea? A 0 hours contract is a type of employment contract where an employer doesn't guarantee a set number of working hours to the employee. This means that the employer is not obliged to provide a minimum number of working hours. You can work 8 hours today and then 2 hours tomorrow, or just sit and wait till you'll be called from work. It's horrible. According to Google, 0 hours contracts are often used in industries where work demands are irregular or unpredictable. But here in the UK, you can find a 0 hours contract in almost every industry. These contracts offer little stability, leaving workers at the mercy of fluctuation schedules and uncertain income streams. What initially appears as a pathway to financial security can quickly unravel into a cycle of uncertainty and stress. And even when the pay seems promising, high taxes swiftly devour a significant portion, leaving little room for savings or luxuries. Taxes in the UK are notoriously high, leaving many residents feeling the pinch when payday rolls around. I explained taxes in detail in my video Why People Are Living in the UK, so if you're interested, you can watch it. I will only say that a significant portion of earnings goes toward income tax and national insurance contributions, leaving individuals with less disposable income than anticipated. The taxes in the UK can be up to 45% depending on how much you earn, making your journey to a comfortable life even more impossible. Coupled with the rising cost of living, the burden of taxation weighs heavily on the shoulders of many. You might think that paying high taxes is good because the money will go to public services and improve everything. But in reality, it doesn't seem like it's the case. The healthcare system experiences a lack of funds. The same about public transport and other industries. I was surprised to see so many potholes on the road. So where does all the money go? I would love to know the answer. While we are still on this subject, let's talk about the National Health Service. That's a really controversial topic. On one side, you can get your treatment for free, and that's absolutely awesome. People in many other countries could only dream about it. But on the other side, because of the underfunding and staff shortages, the waiting time could be really daunting. If you need, say, a hip replacement, you can get it for free, but may have to wait for the operation for 4 or 5 years because of the long queue of patients and short staff. Sometimes, if you call the ambulance, it may never show up because the hospitals don't have enough staff. There were some incidents when people died because they called the ambulance and it never showed up. A friend of mine fainted last summer and was unconscious for about 15 minutes. He's 65. It could be a stroke or anything else. We called the ambulance, and it never showed up. We received a call 10 hours later asking if we still need the ambulance. What the heck? 10 hours later? He could be already dead. If you just have a fever or something not really dangerous, people don't even go to their GP or call the ambulance because there is no point. So you better be healthy and have a strong immune system if you want to move to the UK. Dental care is another pain here. The prices for dental treatment can make you destitute. Honestly, flying, say, to Poland and having your dental treatment there and coming back will be still cheaper than having your treatment in the UK. That's unbelievable. And the thing is that the quality is usually better there too. That's sad, very sad.
The next point on my list is prices.
If you can say that prices for food are reasonable, renting prices are just ridiculously insane, especially the closer you get to London. And of course, everybody wants to live in London, but to be able to rent a separate place without living in an apartment with other people, your salary wouldn't be enough if you are not earning at least £5,000 a month. Or you need a partner who also earns some money, and then together you'll be able to rent a small but separate apartment. But if you move a bit further away from London, for the same money you can rent a 2 or 3 bedroom house. London is a beautiful city, but the majority of the population there are not even English people, but immigrants, and lots of them refuse to learn English. Many British people don't like or even hate immigrants, no matter what country you are from. You can feel the racism. Not in every place, and not with all people, but often. Illegal immigration adds fuel to the fire, sparking resentment and hostility among the populace. Everything is because the UK attracts too many illegal immigrants.
And everything will probably be okay if they integrated into society, started working and paid taxes. But many of them just claim benefits and demand better life for themselves.
Of course, locals hate them because they work hard to survive and pay taxes, and the money to support those benefit claimers comes from taxes. And because of such people, Brits don't like any immigrants.
This is a really hot topic here, and now the government is working on how to decrease immigration to Britain.
Politics are really divided in the UK, and there's a lot of arguing, especially after Brexit. People can't agree on things like immigration, healthcare, and money stuff. Nobody knows what's going to happen next, which makes a lot of people worried about the future.
Another thing that shocked me was the crime level.
Behind the picturesque facade lies a harsh truth: high crime rates. Yeah, there are no terrorist attacks here or massive shootings, thank God, but the small crime is just unbelievable. I don't even know how to describe it properly. Some people keep shoplifting all the time, and the police do nothing. They don't even bother. A few weeks ago, my friends rode their bicycles to a shop. They chained their bikes, but when they came out of the shop, the bikes weren't there. They checked the surveillance cameras, and it was easy to see the faces of the people who stole the bikes. My friends called the police, but the police said that life happens.
So if somebody steals something from you, the police would just ignore it. And this doesn't give you a feeling of safety. What are you paying the money here for?
In London, it's even worse. People are getting killed there often, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm telling you just a little bit, but I know much more. I have a friend who is a policeman, and he told me many stories about how the police deal with crime in the UK. And that's shocking, but I won't tell you this, otherwise some people could use this to their advantage.
But I want this country to be safe because I live here. But this topic is something you can think about before moving to the UK. The next point is really important for newcomers, especially if you don't have £10,000 in your bank account to buy a used car, because we are going to discuss public transport.
Some Brits will argue with me, but I'll say that it works properly only in London. Of course, it depends on where you're coming from, but if you lived in Europe, then you would be shocked at how public transport works outside London. If you're from Canada or the US, you're probably used to rely on your car and don't use buses because they go once an hour. The same is true here. You can't just go to the closest bus stop, wait for a few minutes and take a bus like you can do in most European countries. And if you don't have a car, that could be a real problem for you. Trains are super expensive here, and it's much cheaper to travel somewhere using a car than a train, especially if you have to travel with your family. Expensive train fares and overcrowded buses are a daily reality for many commuters, leading to stress and inconvenience during rush hour. The promise of reliable transportation quickly fades when faced with delays, cancellations, and overcrowded platforms. If you want to live or work in London, it will be your daily reality and nightmare.
By the way, do you remember at the beginning of this video I said that public services are underfunded?
Railway workers often go on strikes and trains don't work on those days. So you have to choose another transport for your commute.
Funny, yeah? What about the culture aspect here?
The UK's social landscape is marked by a culture of privacy and reserve, with many individuals preferring to keep to themselves rather than engage in small talk or casual conversation. People live in their own bubbles. You can live on one street for years and don't know your neighbors' names. At the place where I live, we have a compound where we park our cars. When my neighbors go there, they usually just look at the ground so they won't see other people and don't say hello to each other. In some countries, it is rude not to say hello to your neighbors, but here it's okay. And it's not just my experience. Some people say that it wasn't like that before, but now this is a reality we live in. It would be fair to say that people are really friendly if you live in a rural area, but most immigrants want to move to big cities anyway, so I'm telling you what you will experience when you move to a city. You'll be on your own.
Finally, we came to the main topic that I wish I had known before moving to the UK, and this is the renting situation here.
It's not just the prices, even though they're insanely high, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and many people live in shared apartments. But the process of renting a place is daunting.
When I see some elderly people want to move to the UK as refugees, hoping to find a better life, I'm thinking, please don't come here. You won't be able to survive here.
Many of them don't know the English language, and they won't be able to find a full-time job here. And without a full-time contract, you can't rent.
Do you remember I said about 0 hours contracts, that they are really popular here? That's what you usually can expect here without English.
But with this type of contract, nobody will let you rent. You need to have a full-time job and work on it for a while to pass a financial check so you can rent. Sometimes even if you have some money, say to pay for a year's rent up front, but don't have a job, some landlords will not rent a place to you, because they want some guarantees that you will be able to earn some money, support yourself, and pay the bills.
In my case, when I started working here, I had to pass a 3-month probation period. This is a standard practice in the UK. But sometimes the probation period could take up to 6 months. And only after I passed the probation period, I was able to rent. That's incredible. Where was I supposed to live those 3 months?
It's good if the company that offered you a skilled worker visa provides temporary accommodation, but what if not?
I know one guy who came to England under a skilled worker visa as a teacher. The school he works for couldn't provide him with accommodation, but they let him to stay and sleep in one of the classrooms at school. And he stayed there until he passed his probation period and was able to rent. What a perfect beginning! This is probably the most daunting point on my list. Because you may have a strong immune system, found a job, and don't worry about taxes and prices here. But if you don't have a place to live, everything else will be overshadowed by this. Honestly, renting in the UK is a nightmare, especially if this is your first place and you're a foreigner. You can't provide any references, the competition for every place is high, and finding a place where a landlord will be willing to rent out to you could take a month or even a few months.
One family said that they lived almost 2 months in Airbnb apartments until they found something to rent. They spent a fortune on rent during those 2 months. But not all people have such an amount of money, so you need to be prepared to struggle for a bit in the beginning until you go through all this. If you are interested in knowing more about renting, you can check out my video How to Rent Your First Accommodation. I explain every aspect of renting and what you need to do based on my personal experience and my friends.
In conclusion, moving to the UK can be a daunting experience, followed by challenges and uncertainties. However, if you are willing to fight your way through and adapt to another culture, you can do it. And this is another hate video, but more like a precautious for others who want to move here.
I moved to the UK 3 years ago and enjoyed it here, despite all the challenges and negative aspects that I revealed in this video. I lived through all these challenges and can tell you for sure that if you have a nice, well-paid job and live in a nice place, your life will be pretty comfortable in the UK. Yeah, I struggled with public transport in the beginning, with all its cancellations, and it was really hard. Imagine when you finished your work and had to take the last bus, but it never arrived. 10 p.m., it takes 1 hour for the bus to drive from the place where I live to my work, and the bus is cancelled. What are you going to do? I was ready to walk home. That's what I did, but luckily, I already had some friends at that moment. I called them, and they came to pick me up. I remember one day I walked to work for 40 minutes because there wasn't a bus at that time. The rain was pouring outside, and I came to work completely soaked. There are some inconveniences that you have to go through, and it's never easy to move to another country, but it's definitely worth trying. And if you decide that it's too hard, you can always come back to your home country. But give yourself some time. A year later, it will be easier. After 2 years, easier again. Don't give up too quickly.
As I've said before, I love this country, and this is not a hate video, but just the things that I wish I had known before moving here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I'm going to create another video for you. Bye!